So quite a few years ago, when I was still an entertainer, I was up in Canada doing some shows, and someone contacted me and said they were having Eileen committed. And I said, for what? She was a singer. They said, well, she's gone mad. And I said, what do you mean? They said, well, you know, if you go to her apartment, she's got this really weird thing up over the door, and when you ask her what it is, she said, when the time is right, I'll let you know. And she said she's the Virgin Mary, and she's marrying Jesus Christ, and she gave away all of her music arrangements because she isn't going to need them anymore. And they went on, and so I called a friend of mine, a psychiatrist in Spokane, and I told him the story, and I said, what do you think? He said, does she have any family? I said, not that I know of. He says, well, he said, you better let him commit her. So they did. They all went down, all my friends, and testified and had her put away at Medical Lake out there. So when I got back to Spokane, everybody was afraid to go there because of those people. But I'd go every Sunday and visit her, and one other person, a strange person, would go visit her. And we'd sit and talk to her, once a week. And one day, she says, I just can't stand it. She says, they take all my clothes off. They got me in the room naked, and they were all peeking at me, the little holes. And, I'm laying on the concrete floor, and they're observing me. And she says, what have I done wrong? I said, well, you told them that you're the Virgin Mary and you're going to marry Jesus, and you got this weird thing up over your door, and they're afraid you're going to commit suicide because you've given away all your music arrangements. She said, well, none of that's true. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, I got this man, and she said, I've never had sex in my life, so I did see myself as a virgin, and I think he's as pure as Jesus. And she said, but I didn't say I was the virgin or that he was Jesus. I said, I was just kind of relating the two. And she said, I'm coming from a 350 pounds. Oh, and they also say she gave away all her clothes. She says, I didn't give away all my clothes. She said, if you go to my apartment down at the Davenport, she said, you'll see it. My clothes are still there. She said, my music arrangements are right there. And she says, you go look over my door and see if this weird thing that I'll someday explain. So this other person and I went down to the manager of the place, and we got the key, had her letter from her or some fool thing, and we went to her apartment. And the first thing I went and looked up over the door, and oh my goodness, there it was. There were like 5 Christmas cards, and there were 4 above that, and then above that there were 3, and above that there were 2, and I'm thinking one more would make that a Christmas tree. But they all thought that was some reason she should be put away, because that was just too weird for them. So anyway, so then I went in her closet and had all these beautiful clothes all hanging there, all beautiful shoes that she was going to get married in, hanging there. I didn't see all her clothes gone, so I went to her satchel where she carried, a big leather satchel where she carried all her professional, handwritten arrangements, as she was a vocalist, and all her music arrangements there. She told us, she said, well, I gave away some sheet music I'd had since I was a kid. This kid was wanting to start in the music business, and I said, I've got some old stuff I'm not using. I said, I can give away my arrangements. So I went back and I called Dr. Flynn, and I told him the story, and they let her out the next day. But my point was, everybody, even her dearest friends, were so sure she was insane. And the professionals, they all judged her as insane. And it turned out she was just normal, but had a little more imagination than some of my other friends, kind of thing. I just thought I'd throw that in as just my story. What?
Well, there are a lot of things that stirs up. In other words, does it make you feel empowered or disempowered? It makes you worry that others have power over you. And it makes you feel that you'd better conform, doesn't it? In other words, you better not get too far out there, because if you get too far out there, someone might misunderstand and make trouble for you, or not accept you, or not like you, or not allow you, or let you into the right club, or into the right heaven, or whatever. And then some of you are born who have seen societies moving further and further away from personal individual guidance, from personal individual fulfillment of reason for being. And so you're born with stronger than ever intention that this time they're not going to cause you to conform. And so you're just way, 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 way out there. Impossible to conform. Sometimes you are born with what you call birth defects, where your mind just doesn't function in the same way, so they have to allow you to be different. Sometimes you're born with other physical disabilities where they just have to allow you to be different, because you come forth so determined that you are going to express in a powerful way your understanding of the value of diversity. You live in a world that's almost gone mad with the idea of sameness. Let's take all the ideas that exist and whittle them down to just a few good ideas. People on the other side of the world having other religions, another way of looking at things. And so you try to persuade them, and then you condemn them, and then if they don't listen and will not listen to your conversions, then you drop bombs on them. In other words, there is such a sort of physical sickness that comes from believing that there are only a few good ideas and that your good ideas will be threatened if the rest do not join them. Even if a lot of you become those who are wanting to make the world conform, you are bucking a current that you cannot buck, because you live in a universe that is based upon diversity. It's based upon difference. It's an expanding universe, not a shrinking universe. So you never need to worry, because new ones are being born every day. They're being born with a stronger understanding. Those that are old and stuck in their ways are croaking and going out the other end. So the dilution ratio always stays in this healthy place where you do not need to worry about it, you see. There is not anything to worry about. But if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would be taking pride in our renegade nature of difference. And we would try never again to conform. And we would reach this powerful place where we never again try to modify our behavior based upon appealing to someone else's impression of how we should behave. We would say to anyone who is willing to listen, I love you, but I do not give a rip what you want me to do. I'm following my own guidance system. It's a loud, clear message. I've been launching rockets of desire. Who I was before I was born and who I have even further become is now calling me with a very loud signal. I can hear the signal calling me. It feels like joy. It feels like love. It feels like passion. It feels like adoration. It feels like fulfillment. It feels like exhilaration. It feels like vitality. It feels like clarity. And when it calls me, I always try to lean in that direction. And every now and again, I get swept up in what others want, and I find myself feeling a little less free, and I find myself forking off in the direction that makes me feel like fear or even resentment or even anger. But now I'm aware of my guidance system. I can tell which way is the right way for me to go. So you can all out there in the peanut gallery beat your drum. You can make your laws. You can make every decision of the world about how you think I should be. But I am finally being the one I've come to be. I'm following my own bliss. I'm listening to the beat of the energy that flows forth from within me, and it never tells me wrong. And as more and more and more are doing that, those who come forth understanding that will begin to relax. Fewer will get suppressed where it squirts out in multiple personalities or whatever those diagnoses are that they're wanting to give. And more and more of you will be living your life in the joyful way that you've come forth to live it. Not one of you said, I'll go forth and I'll figure out what everybody's doing and then I'll conform to what they're doing. Not one of you said that. You said, I'll go forth and I'll appreciate their conformity because it will give me a platform from which to launch my intentions, but I'm going to put my 2 cents worth in pretty darn fast as soon as I get there. So I'll be born into an environment where they'll feed me and I'll be stable, and then I'll figure out as quickly as I can what I want from there, and I know this source will agree with me and give me the circumstance and its events to fulfill it, and I'll do my best to stay true to the dream that is born within me. And when I go to the therapist that said, you should not dream, you should face reality, I'll stand up and with all of the fervor of my being, I'll say, we are eternally evolving. We cannot stand still. Please do not ask me to focus upon what is. Let me focus upon what can be. We get a little worked up on that because it is what all of you intended as you came forth into these bodies, you see. Not one of you intended to be suppressed. You all intended to find your path and let your light shine in your unique way. And as you compare yourself with each other, you lose track of what way is your way. But as you listen to the way you feel, as you listen to your gut, then you can tell what way is your way. And we've never known anyone who was ever happy, not even a little happy, doing something that somebody else wanted them to do. If you're not satisfying your own dreams, you're on the wrong track. You must follow your dream. You cannot be a cog in the wheel of somebody else's dream. The universe will support you. Find your dream and follow it. And tell everyone else to buzz off. Yes. We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. You are leading edge creators, and we are appreciating your willingness to chew with us endlessly about the nitty-gritty of what you are living. It is our desire that you leave this gathering with just a handful of new decisions vibrating within you. First and most important, we want you to at least be willing to acknowledge that life is supposed to be good for you, that you are source energy in a physical body, and that so much has come before even your coming forth into these bodies, that you have an inheritance of massive proportion that you are expecting to reap here in this specific physical lifetime. Next, it is our desire that you feel from us an appreciation about your willingness to chew on this contrast in order to take life into this new place of desire. And most of all, as you now contemplate those two vibrational points of relativity, it is our desire that you are selfish enough, because innately we know you are, to want to feel good enough, because intuitively and innately we know you are, to specifically direct your thought, which is easy to do in this moment, by forking in the direction that feels as good as you can make it feel. And it is our promise to you that with a semi-serious, not even working hard at it, but just attention a little more in every day to which corner of the universe you are listing toward what feels a little better or feels a little worse, that you will begin to see physical evidence that indicates the effectiveness of what will feel to you like far too simple choices. You have no idea how blessed you are, so you expect the choices to be bigger and harder to make, harder to find, harder to apply, harder to achieve. And we are wanting you to understand that there is no price that you need to pay. You are queued up for wonderful things, and you have added to the desires by amending them every day of your physical experience. So it is not necessary for you to now pay a price. It is only necessary for you to find a little more alignment with what you are asking for. We want you to feel the readiness of Source to fulfill each and every desire. And we want you to feel your part in the achievement of this. We want you to know that you are the creator of your own experience. We are not saying to you that you are good and therefore everything that you want will be granted. We are saying to you, you are good and everything that you are wanting will be given to you because you are asking for it to be given to you. And when you understand that it's all right to ask and that you can't stop asking, and that Source adores the asking process because you take Source to a place that Source could not be if you were not asking. So then we say, you've been doing it for that which is Source for a very long time. Now it's time for you to do it for you. Do it because it feels good. And when you get onto that, what others will call selfish bent, your life will begin to take the form that it was in when you made the decision to come forth into this physical body. The mysteries will go away. You will understand what's happening to you and why it's happening to you. You will be able to affect changes in your physical body. You'll be able to affect changes in your financial statement. You will begin to affect changes in the circle of friends that you run with. Your relationships will improve. You will begin to understand not only what's happening in your own experience, but it will become very clear to you what and why things are happening in the experiences of people that you are privy to what their vibrational, attitudinal moods are. When you understand vibration and when you understand law of attraction, you never again feel the mystery of life because you have clear understanding of why everything happens in just the way it does. And as you understand law of attraction, as you understand the way the universe works, and as you begin to deliberately apply the laws which will never get squirrely on you, they will always be consistent with you, your vulnerability will absolutely vanish. You will feel the invincibility that you were born feeling. and we will be applauding you every step along the way. There is so much love here for you, and for now, we are complete.